Hello, everybody. Just want to give a little update on where everything's are at. Obviously, we made it across the country. It was a bit harrowing, but I am finally here, back in our house in Topanga. Didn't burn down, thankfully, and ready to start getting into this. But a little bit about the general plan. So the way this is going to work for the winter is I'm going to be mostly here, and I'm going to dive into this most from the least thing, and that's a bit of what we're going to talk about in this video, because I need your help. But the other thing that's going to happen is for 1 week each month, I'm going to go back to Vermont and be in my beloved new barn studio for a week by myself, which is kind of incredible. I haven't really had that kind of experience for a long time, for about 7 years. And it was very interesting. I had my first week of that, was it maybe a little over a week ago? And it's such a different experience. I'm learning that there are certain creative endeavors that you cannot do in small bites. And even when the family is in Vermont and Zane goes to school and they'll have an after-school thing where he can play with his buddies and stuff, and so you'll get from the morning and then we pick him up around 5 o'clock. That's a full day. Still, with all the other stuff that's going on, there are some things that you can't, there are so many sort of forks in the road that you need to follow to get to the bottom of a rabbit hole, that once it gets interrupted, you kind of have to start over again. And so these weeks that I'm going to have in that building by myself, where I literally do what I used to do, which, like sleep in the control room type shit. I'm not going to actually do that because it's all in the same building. But yeah, literally wake up, walk straight to the control room and continue exactly where I left off, go for 16 hours, go to bed and fall asleep, try and sleep for 8 hours, and it's hard to do because I'm so excited about it, and then wake up again and do it again the next day. It's an amazing experience, and so I'm really grateful to be able to have little chunks of that again in my life, because like I said, there's certain things that you can't really do, I don't think, without being able to be that immersed in the sort of creative thoughts and creative environment. And so, really excited about that. I started on it. I revived my MM1200, my Ampex tape machine that was sort of sitting in pieces. So I got that thing going, and I needed that for this thing that I'm going to do. I have this, I think easily the most ambitious drum deep dive thing I've ever taken on. I'm super nervous about it. I don't know if I'm actually going to get where I want on this, but I think the journey will be worth it. I've already learned a bunch. I've had one full long day of just geeking out on this drum thing, and so hopefully the next time I go back, I'll be able to finish it and post a video about it. I think it's going to be super cool. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm going to get to do back in Vermont. And then the rest of the time, I'll be here in Topanga, in this little glorious room, doing this most from the least stuff. So before I sat down to do this, I did a little video to just show what the setup is, because you can kind of only see just what's behind me, and all the important stuff, very little of it is right in front of me. So here's what the setup is that I'm going to be working with while here in Topanga. Okay, so here is the Minimalist, trying to get the most from the least setup I have. I made the journey across the country from Vermont. I brought a laptop, 2 speakers. I saved this monitor. This was sort of, hiding in our basement here, so I could have an extra screen, a little more screen real estate. I got a couple lights to help light me up, make my face look less old and wrinkly when I'm doing these videos. And that's kind of it, I got a dual purpose workout bench and keyboard stand. And I brought this Apollo interface. Maybe I thought that might be good, but it only has 4 mic inputs on it. Looks like I'm going to be using this Orion Studio. That's got 12 mic inputs on it. So then, I can do a more thorough drum miking setup in here. That might be useful. So, So that's it. That's all I got. We'll see what we can pull out of this. The room is maybe, it was originally about 20 by 20. And, with all the acoustic treatment that, ate up a couple of feet on each side. So it's really probably only about 16, 17 feet across this way, a little longer this way because it's just, there's no treatment on the back. So yeah, it's probably about, 18 feet front to back. I brought this fabric because I thought I was going to have to do more tubes. The last time I was in here, I had the Strauss speakers and I had a lot more equipment in here. And I ended up using one of those turn-off systems in here. And, I had some issues with the speakers in here. I was using with subs, which also complicates things. So I thought, this time around, I'm going to have more space. I'll do tubes, but I put up the speakers, I tested them, and they're really quite flat, much closer to the very, very first test that I did in this space right after the acoustic treatment went up. So I don't have to do tubes, so that's good. And I'm going to do one tiny little EQ move when I'm monitoring in there. I think I'm just going to put it on the, the send that's going to the speakers, just like with, FabFilter Q4 or something, just to flatten out there's one little dip in there that I'll do. And I did the test with it. It seems like it'll work great. They feel great. They sound awesome in here. So I can keep it super simple. Don't have to put any more expensive stuff in it. So this is it. I'm getting stuff together. I think I'm going to be able to pick up a drum set. I'll put it in my favorite corner over here. I'm going to borrow a bass and a guitar. I have some cables, so I have to have this. Even in a minimalist setup, I will never, ever, for the rest of my life, ever record guitar and bass without that. And, headphones, various cable stuff. So here we go. Most from the least. So there it is, and I'm excited about it, man. It's super just simple. And I think at this time, right now, I would say easily the majority of people that are recording music are recording it with setups like this. I think that's really what's going on. And so, I want to try it too and see what I can pull out of this. So I mentioned the fabric on the floor. So I wanted to show the response curve in here. You might think that's interesting. And so I did it two ways. So here's the graph, and it was flatter than I was expecting it to be. I think this is acceptable, and this is the only area that I'm going to just fortify a tiny bit. That one I can feel when I'm sitting here listening to stuff. This is, 120 hertz, you can see it there. It's a really important sort of punchy range in the lows or sort of low mids. And so, yeah, I'm just going to, like I said, put a plug in on whatever the feed is to the monitor so I can just hear that while I'm making EQ choices and stuff. But yeah, just a few dB will be enough to try and just get it closer to where it should be. But man, they feel great. They sound great. I'm listening to music in here. It's been super fun. I did it door closed, door open because, sometimes it'll start warming up here. And even in the winter, it's wonderfully comfortable outside. And this room will get warm pretty quick because the sun shines right on it in the second half of the day. And so I did it door open, door closed, just to make sure that there wasn't going to be a big difference there. There is not. So you can see they're pretty much the same. So I don't have to worry about that. So yeah, I'm happy. I didn't have to build a bunch of tubes and go through that whole thing again, which was kind of nice, saved me some time. So then this is the part that I need help with. I've been accumulating some stuff. There's some mic stands and things that I already got over there that I'll need just to mic up a drum kit and do whatever. I'm not going to use any real guitar amps. I'm going to use all amp sims. That's going to be part of this. But the first thing is I'm going to get some microphones. And the point of this, I want to try and add up what the total cost of this setup is going to be once I put this all together and try and record a song in here. And this is what I found. And if anybody has any thoughts about this, if there's a better choice out there, but this is unbelievable to me. So there is a Behringer BC 1200 professional 7-piece drum microphone setup for $109. I don't know how it's possible to make and sell 7 microphones, by the way, in their own custom flight case. It looks like a, ATA style flight case for $109. That's just insane. And I can't wait to see what these microphones sound like, to get 7 mics for $109 plus the case. It's just so nuts. So what is that? That is $15 a mic. $15 microphone. It's just, I've never seen a microphone that cheap. I don't even know how that's possible. So that's what I'm planning to do. But if you have any suggestions about this, or if you've used these and have experience with these and want to tell me like, yeah, they work fine, or you'll never get a good sound out of these mics ever in the rest of your life, it doesn't matter how hard you try, they're just the worst. Let me know if you've had any experience with these. I'm just curious. Or if you think there's an option that's better than this. I can't imagine there's anything cheaper. There's no way. But I don't know. This is what I'm planning on doing. So if you think there's a better option than this, let me know soon, because I'm gonna order these to show up next week so I can start on this. Okay, so there's that. And then the other thing is that, as I just said, I'm not going to use any real amps, because those can be wildly expensive. I think a lot of people are using amp sims. And so I've used them in the past mostly for demoing. And, there's probably been times when I've kept an amp sim on something if it just sounded great. There was one, I'm trying to think of a specific instance where that might have happened, but I can't think of it now, but I'm sure it's happened. I've mostly, I really, haven't tried a lot, and I know there's a million of them out there now. I've mostly used just the Avid one, 11, or now what is 11 Mark II. So I have that, and I'll continue to try and use that. There's a bunch of stuff in UAD that I'll try. I've recently, used their B15 bass amp emulator. I loved that. That thing's incredible. So I know that's a great start for the bass, but I'll try more stuff with that. But if you all have any recommendations for amp sims in both directions, ones that you think are amazing or ones that you think are totally worthless, don't waste your time on them. I'm going to be diving into this and trying to find some stuff that's going to work. And see what I can pull out of them. So, because I'm gonna limit myself to that. There are a couple amps kicking around in the basement here that never made it all the way to Vermont, and so I do have a couple guitar speaker cabs. I might make use of those at some point. I have an idea that might be fun for that, but still using the amp simulator. So I might experiment with that. So please let me know if there's ones you recommend, don't recommend. As I said, I've used 11 Mark II, and I've used a couple of the UAD ones, but I've only scratched the surface of the UAD ones, so I'm going to dig deeper into those. But yeah, let me know about that stuff. Very curious about it. Then the other thing that I'm going to go deeper into is tape emulation stuff. So I've used a fair amount of those, so that's something I've been curious about for a while. Obviously, I don't have my tape machines here. Still an important part of my process, and so I want to try and work that out. So here are the ones that I have used. I've used all of the UAD ones. I know those. I know Kramer tape. I know the Slate virtual tape. I know Taup, the Acoustica one. I've tried that. There's the Real Tape Suite, which I think is part of the Avid thing. And more recently, I've used Satin. So I've used all of those. That's a fair number of them, but the new ones are popping up all the time. So if there's any of those out there that you think are like, oh, this is the best one I've used, it changed my life, and I think this sounds totally like real tape. If you really feel strongly about one, let me know, and I'll make sure and try it. So I can incorporate all that stuff in this process. Because ultimately, I'm going to sit down here and try and make recordings, and my ears and my brain is still going to be trying to make it sound and feel the way it does when I'm working with my massively indulgent recording studio in Vermont, which is basically all the gear that I've collected over the last 35 years, now, installed in this amazing studio that I just built from scratch. And so, that is a absolute no compromises recording environment. And my ears would still want to hear that. And so I'm going to be trying to navigate to that, but without those tools. And so if there's anything else along the way that you think would be interesting for me to try in that challenge, I'm happy to do it. And this would be a great time to let me know, because I'm going to be accumulating stuff over the next few days. Next week, I'm going to try and record a song in this room and see what I get. So that's what's happening. That's where I'm at. And I always appreciate all of the input and comments and stuff. And but by the way, a bunch of amazing comments on beauty of imperfection stuff. The second round of comments. I think I'll do another round with that video, because there's just another bunch of really, really incredible, insightful stuff that got shared about that. We'll keep that conversation going. It's just too good. I'll see you on the next one. All right, cool. Bye.